take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good, solid Christmas week. How about yourself?
Oh, same. Good week.
Same. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Any exciting gifts, or do they all go to the kids now?
They usually go to the kids. I mean, they got some cool stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
Christmas pretty much the kids' day. It seems like more
Hmm.
than anything.
For sure, right? It's funny to think about like stuff you get now
Yeah.
and that you actually get excited about, or just like
All
oh,
right.
like we got like a gift card to a nice restaurant in town for my
Yeah.
mom, and then like my wife bought me like a little nice little Dutch oven, for the
Nice.
for cooking. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's
uh
funny.
yeah, right. Back in the day, would have been like, what is this lame ass shit?
Yeah. What the fuck? Yeah.
But yeah, let's of course, just bowl week going on this week in the college game. No playoff games or anything overly important this week, but
It's a lot of interesting games though. Even though everybody says how bad the Bulls are with that aren't involved in the playoff, but a lot of entertaining games that happen this week.
there were, yeah, a lot of fun stuff. We had that, what was it, 5 overtimes on Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
Who was
I
that?
mean, that was
USF and who the hell did they play?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
blanking.
And that was a let's see.
Trying to think. Since we last talked, though, yeah, we had pretty. You had that 2 overtimes in the Potato
Yeah,
Bowl between.
South Florida, San
Yeah,
Jose State, 5 overtimes
that's
on
who it is.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
Then we had
yeah.
Toledo, Pittsburgh go 6 overtimes on Thursday.
Even before that, Monday, NIU and Fresno played that 2 overtime game.
Yeah.
Kansas State
K,
Rutgers played a close one.
yeah,
Arkansas
K
State
State
Bowling
had a big
Green played a
comeback
close one.
because they're
Mm-hmm.
down like 17 late in the
Mm-hmm.
second half. And
Yeah.
cool. Good comeback
Navy,
there.
yeah, Navy and Oklahoma played a close one on Friday. The
Very good.
Birmingham Bowl here delayed by weather, but Vanderbilt held on
Yeah.
over Georgia Tech.
They're talking a lot of trash about us. The
Yeah,
athletic. Oh, okay.
man, that has been an odd thing. I mean, and that just goes to show you Alabama's still Alabama. There have been a lot of talk about Alabama in all these bowl games, but should they
Yes.
get in? And damn, I thought,
Well, a team that
nice to
y'all
know,
say is terrible. And
right? Yeah.
we should, yeah, we do get a lot of talk.
And I do want to say though, for all these people trying to clown on Bama by saying, "Oh, Navy beat them, but you couldn't." Oklahoma has lost 25 people since we
Yeah,
played them,
they
so that
lost
was
that.
not the same team.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, not
credit to Navy,
kudos.
but
Yeah, kudos to Navy.
uh, yeah, no. Other fun game, that Las Vegas Bowl, USC and Texas A&M. That was a fun one.
That was a
Yeah.
great game. I mean, the
Hmm.
Aggies definitely blew that one. They were
Oh,
up big.
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
USC, man, but it's just something. I don't know, something definitely missing at USC long term. It was a good win
hmm.
for them, but I don't know. You know,
Yeah, it's starting to question if maybe Lincoln Riley wasn't the coach we kind of thought he was. If he was just riding, the
because
end of the
he
Bob
coming
Stoop era at
right. I mean, he
Oklahoma, or
came
yeah,
into
what?
a great situation. I mean, he got Baker Mayfield, and he was
Mm-hmm.
able to give Jalen Hurts right after that, and then he
Mm-hmm.
came into Caleb Williams and
Mm-hmm.
what's the name? Um, so I mean, he came into a Rattler. So I mean, he came into some great
Yeah.
quarterback situations. Um, even when Rattler fell off a little bit, I mean, he had Caleb Williams right there. So I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, he had, and there was a plethora of talent in Oklahoma. I mean, there's still one. I mean, at that point, I mean, they were still one of the top programs in America. So I mean, they were getting
Mm-hmm.
recruits. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they did a great job coming back. That's one thing. The Aggies, they don't know how to keep a lead.
No, yeah, it's
They haven't learned how
for
to win yet.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a program that hasn't learned how to win, and a little surprising with a guy like Mike Elko as coach. But hey, like that comes with culture, and
It does.
obviously Jimbo didn't have it there, and so Mike
No,
Elko's got to build that.
right.
And you would think a defensive minded guy like him would really emphasize closing out games like that.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure it out. But man, it was crazy because as dead as USC was for a while of that game, that fourth quarter, they put up a lot of points.
Yeah, they look like the potential of what USC can be really.
Yeah,
Um, Other notable results from this weekend: Nebraska clinched its first winning season since 2016,
yeah, first bowl win.
first bowl win since 2015.
Yeah,
Um, Iowa State and Miami played a great Pop Tarts Bowl.
yeah, and
Um,
that was another big thing. Looked bad with Cam Ward playing that first half, breaking the record,
mm-hmm.
and then rolling out.
Yeah,
Didn't
breaking a
play.
record that he might not hold for too long, as
Yeah,
Dylan Gabriel needs 5 to tie him,
yeah.
6 more touchdown
I'm
passes
just
to
like,
beat him.
man.
Certainly could do that with potentially 3 more games.
Now, I'm like, I understand everything, and people are saying, well, Mario pulled him,
Mhm.
but man, at that end of that game, he could have came in that last drive. I'm sorry. I would. I was man. I don't. But big, good, great win for Iowa State. I mean,
Mhm.
we get jaded as far as Alabama fans. Just with what we expect, so many wins.
Mhm.
Iowa State got their first 11 wins season in program history this week
Yeah.
after they played out football for 130 years. I mean, it
Mhm.
just gives you perspective at times just how special of a program some of us have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've talked about it before, and there are some other podcasts I know. If anybody listens to the Solid Verbal, a good college football podcast, they've talked about this before too. And I hear some soccer podcast I listen to talk about it too. And perspective and lowering expectations is a real
Mhm,
thing that you need in sports like this, where
mhm.
there's a set, there's blue bloods, there's an elite class of teams
Right.
that realistically can win titles, and then there's lower tiers of teams.
Mhm.
And what makes a great season for an Alabama, uh, or what makes a poor season for an Alabama might make a great season for, like you said, an Iowa State or some other
Exactly.
program.
Exactly.
We talked, Army this year, of course, first ever
Well,
conference championship. Granted, they never played, in the conferences,
right.
but still, first ever conference title,
12
first
wins
ever
on it.
12-win season. Yeah.
And I mean, they were ecstatic. And the crazy thing
Hmm.
about it is they still lost the Navy, so you wonder how important. I mean, it still means a lot, but I
Yeah.
mean, clearly that's their biggest game, and they got
Yeah.
hammered.
Yeah,
So
they'll still be. I tell you what, my mom and her partner, both Army vets themselves,
uh,
they were not happy with the events of that day.
I can imagine. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I think really people thought the Army was going to house Navy that day. I mean,
Oh
all the
yeah, for
signs were
sure. I think
there. I
yeah,
mean, I think
yeah.
all the signs were there. I don't know the extra week off made that much of a difference, or if you don't, I
Hmm.
don't know. But
I will
nonetheless, though,
say,
I mean, great end of the season. You hate that, that they didn't play a better opponent. They ended up playing the La Tech, who was a 5-7 team there, but
yeah, no, a La Tech team that had to last minute
replaced
replacement.
Marshall. But I mean,
Yeah,
great end of the year. 12 wins. Iowa State with 11 wins. So I mean, perspective. I mean, you think how many of 11 wins we've seen in the last decade. It's crazy.
exactly. Yeah, ho hum.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you think about other schools. Indiana. Yeah, first round flame out, and it didn't look competitive against Notre Dame, but
But
still
they've
an
never
absolute
done
great
anything like
season for
that.
them.
They've never
Yeah,
done anything like that in their whole program history.
exactly. So
Yeah,
you gotta look. You just gotta remember. Yeah, take it in stride.
yeah,
Um, Elsewhere, a couple of surprising things. One, I didn't know Snoop Dogg was sponsoring a bowl, so
yeah.
he was
That's
great,
pretty.
great in the booth. Absolutely A plus in the booth for that one. Um, to that Alamo Bowl, BYU just taking it to Colorado.
Wow.
Real surprising with
Real.
Colorado with
Yeah. They
you know,
played the guys.
yeah, Sanders and Hunter playing. They took out apparently the biggest insurance
Yeah.
policy for some athlete in
And
history or
good,
something crazy
good for
like
them
that.
doing that just to make sure people stay. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, I was expecting a back and forth competitive game like you would expect of a Big 12
Hmm.
heavyweights, and it was anything but that. And it was over
Yeah, maybe.
early.
And you thought maybe even a little Colorado might have something to
Yeah.
say in that game because was it the BYU win late or loss kept Colorado from being in the title game, the Big
Yeah.
12 title game.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
no, yeah, BYU came out and looked like the team that was going undefeated and winning
Yeah.
all those games
That's a team
throughout the
that
first
probably
couple parts of the season.
may have been a playoff team if they had played like that those last couple of weeks.
Exactly, yeah. Um, we still, got a Sanders to Hunter touchdown though, so
Yeah.
they will go down, and now they get that big quarterback coming in there at Colorado, and we'll see what Dion can do without
Without his guys.
his kid, yeah, his kid and Hunter. See how they can take that next step in the rebuild.
Right.
Uh, Other surprising things were how many fights. Again, I think we talked about this last year. I'm pretty sure one of our episodes is titled something about fighting, and
It's a lot of
I did,
animosity in these bowl games.
right, and it's so weird. These teams that
Even
never see
Army,
each other,
even Army caught a, penalty last night
right, and yeah,
for
those are
fighting.
disciplined dudes. There
Yeah.
was one dude. Did you watch the end of that game? There was one dude on La Tech who was just jawing it up right until the end.
Hmm.
And he was getting to face a couple of these like Army offensive linemen, and they were just looking at him. He got a big hit on the quarterback. I'm pretty sure quarterback like got up, slapped him on the helmet, like good hit, and just smiled at him.
Yeah.
And this dude was just talking. It's like, all right, bro, like scoreboard. And
Yeah. They
I don't know.
definitely
I
know
know they
quarterback
haven't been through.
security.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they haven't. Yeah, I know they haven't been through all their training yet. But I don't know if Army players are the one that I'm going to talk shit to.
No.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, like you said, it's been a fun week of bowls. It's not
Right.
what it was growing up. These bowls when we were younger, they really had this like special aura about bowl season, and
Yeah. But then
it
again, it
meant,
wasn't 1,000 bowls either.
yeah, it was a lot less.
Yeah.
And, you didn't see 5 and 7 teams in bowl
No.
games,
Yeah.
but it's still fun. You can tell
Yeah.
these kids the way they play. It's fun for them.
And they're playing. The people that are playing, they're playing. They're playing to win. I mean, there's no doubt
Hmm.
about it. No one just out
Absolutely.
there. It's not a Florida State situation from last year. Like,
No.
some teams been blown out, but they weren't. They were out there trying to win. I
Hmm.
mean, well, yeah. I mean, I've been impressed with bowl week. If the second round of the playoff can even be anything like it, then we're in for a good good week. 'Cause really, the bowl the bowls not associated with the playoffs have been much better so far than the playoff that everybody is paying attention to. So hopefully this second round, if even half of it is as good as what we've seen for bowl week, I think we're in for a good one. Good.
Yeah, for sure. And we're starting to get maybe a little more higher profile matchups too this week in just
That
bowls.
is
You
true.
got Iowa, Missouri on Monday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, you got Alabama, Michigan, Louisville, Washington,
Hmm.
South Carolina, Illinois, Baylor, LSU. I think Baylor, LSU could be a really good game.
Yeah.
Um,
One more.
yeah, you got a interesting one in Duke and Ole Miss later in the
Yeah.
week. So yeah, there's still some fun ones out there just for just bowls. But let's go ahead pivot to the playoffs real quick. Let's look ahead to these games. Quarterfinal matchups. It starts Tuesday evening with the Fiesta Bowl and number 6 Penn State and the number 3 seed Boise State. Um, Penn State's pretty the favorite here. Uh,
Heavy favorite. Yeah.
yeah, pretty heavy favorite. Uh, Greg, let's see. I think obviously I don't think the question is does Boise have a shot. I do think they obviously have a shot with Ashton
Yeah.
Genty and a well coached and just well
Hmm.
disciplined team as they are.
Right.
Would you though? I guess my question is: are you expecting a close game? Do you, or would you be shocked if Boise State goes out there and wins? Or what would it take to surprise you in this game? How about that?
I think really the only thing that would shock me is that Boise just blew them off the map. Anything other than that, I'm not shocked by. I mean, I could
Yeah.
see Penn State housing them. I could see, um, Penn State winning close, and I could see Boise winning close. I think the only
Hmm.
shock would be if Boise State just ran through them, which I don't think is going to happen. But I think that'd be the only thing that would really shock me. Anything other than that, I wouldn't be shocked by.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same agreement there. Not that Boise State isn't capable of, blowing
Yeah,
them out. It just I don't
I
think.
don't. Penn.
I think
I
Penn
don't.
State's a little too talented to
All
get
right.
blown out by Boise, but
Yeah. I
we've
mean,
seen Boise. They played Oregon tough
yeah,
as
they
anybody
did
has this year, so
exactly.
um, it should be a really good game.
I just hope it is
And
a good game, for the
yeah,
little
yeah.
guys,
Hmm.
because, yeah, we talked about last week, we were tired of hearing about, oh, Indiana, SMU, they shouldn't even been in. And now, I don't want to see Boise and I don't want to see Arizona State get blown out just because everybody's going to be, oh, see, two more teams shouldn't have been in the playoff. Like, we haven't seen plenty of blowouts in playoff games when it was four.
Yeah, right. That's just yeah. That's my thing too. Yeah, let's just we
Hell, we've
need the
seen
little
blowouts in
guys
the
to
we've seen plenty of blowouts in the Super Bowl. So I mean, it just goes to show you that every day, every
exactly.
game, I mean, things just jump off so quickly, and if you get a quick momentum going, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, was it last Monday Night Football? Troy Aikman made a great point about that. They actually were talking about the college game for a little bit, and
Mhm.
he said something to the effect of, if there's a blowout in the Super Bowl, nobody questions whether the losing team should have
Should
been
have
there
been
or
there.
not.
Yes,
Yeah. Um, and again, this is why I harp on it so much. This is why you need a more set uh standard for who makes the playoffs. Like you need, that's why I say you need conference champions in, so
absolutely,
you can have like, hey, this is how you get in. Everybody deserves to be here. There's,
for sure.
when this much conversation, we mentioned how much people are talking about Alabama still. When this much conversation centers around the 12th seed, something's not quite right there.
All
Like
right.
and it's weird if it's something that ESPN is pushing. It's weird because they don't have to. The the the
Maybe they don't even
the
really have to
selection show's
mention.
over. Yeah, we know
Yeah,
we know who's in the playoffs are over. So I don't know
it's
why we
just
still need to keep
still talking about it.
yeah
Listen,
beating
yeah,
this dead horse.
it's not really fair to the teams in the playoff. I mean, they're in the playoff. Let's just celebrate them. Talk about them.
Exactly.
Well, you
Yeah.
talk about Alabama during the Alabama game, or Ole Miss or
Exactly.
South
Yeah.
Carolina during their bowl game, whatever
Yeah.
it is
Let's
that you're talking about. Let's just keep it and talk about the games that we have. I mean, that's,
exactly. Yeah. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about what's on the field.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
there's plenty, especially in these other bowl games. You're doing a disservice to the teams that are playing. Go find
Absolutely.
some quirky story about some player. Do what ESPN used to do, which is actually have journalists and reporters.
uh,
Um, but yeah, that should be a good one. I don't think anybody would be surprised if Boise pulls it out. I think most of the country will probably be rooting for that.
yeah,
I'm really interested to see how Ashton Genty in that Boise
yeah,
run game goes against that Big
exactly.
Ten Penn State
Because
defense.
everybody said, "Oh, he wouldn't be so great in the in a bigger conference." I mean, we saw him do a big game against Oregon, but Oregon
Hmm.
okay defense. But if he puts up big numbers against Penn State, which is I think one of the maybe top 10 defense, maybe I don't know. I mean they're pretty solid defense. If he puts up 150, 200 on them, then I mean obviously what he's done is legit. You can't question
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
There's no
I mean,
question.
this is a guy that's getting a lot of first round talk for
Exactly.
the NFL draft too. So he's not a
Exactly.
scrub.
Because I mean, you
Uh,
look at it too. We talk about like people say, "Oh, he did it against Mountain West teams." Understandable. Also, if he were in the SEC or the Big Ten, he'd have quite a better offensive line as well. So you got to look at
exactly.
it
Yeah.
that.
It goes both ways. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, you mentioned the other, quote unquote little guy, even though they're a big power conference team, Arizona State. They'll kick off Wednesday's games in the Peach Bowl against Texas. Um, I think this one would be a little more shocking if Arizona State won, just because their whole season has been shocking. They came out
Yeah,
of nowhere, picked near last or last by pretty much everyone in
yeah,
Big 12
yeah,
circles and media circles, and they've come out and played an absolute great season. And, we've mentioned it many times.
fantastic
If not,
season.
if not for what happened to Indiana and with Kirk Signetti, Kenny Dillingham's probably your coach of the year.
Absolutely.
Um,
And the
you
most
got Kent.
exciting thing with him, I mean, he's so young. He hadn't even reached
Yeah,
his greatness. I mean, he hadn't even reached his
he's
top
still
level.
learning. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he's still learning.
it's
Yeah,
like what
uh,
34. I mean,
yeah,
he's
and it's
not.
and it's hard to not root for the guy when he's at his alma mater. A place he
Yeah,
loves. His post game interviews are great. He's always so excited.
yeah,
Um,
great
no,
energy.
yeah, yeah, it's great, just perfect energy. But yeah, that'll be an interesting game to watch. You probably tend to
Absolutely.
think that Sark and the Texas offense will just have too much for that Arizona State
Yeah,
defense, and
maybe so.
yeah, and a really good Texas defense might
Stifle.
make Arizona State, yeah, a little too one dimensional. But Cam Scatabo is a great player, so
He
we'll
is a
see.
great player. I mean, he's
Um,
fun.
yeah, it's
He's just a
certainly their
power
stiffest
runner.
test of the year. Yeah,
Yeah,
just a
just a
strong runner.
strong. Yeah. I mean, if he, that's the thing. Like, they're gonna have to be able to run the ball. And the other thing with both Boise and Arizona State, the main thing that they can't do at all is do things to beat themselves. They can't turn the ball over, like we saw
Right,
with SMU. I mean, you can't do things. These smaller teams, they can win the game, but as we know, with smaller teams, they have to play a near perfect game. They can't do anything to beat themselves. They gotta uh, get touchdowns when they can because these big team field goals not going to beat you. So
hmm
they're gonna have to just you know not make mistakes. Can't have dumb penalties, can't fumble, no interceptions, because those are the things that killed SMU quickly. Um, and then, but as we know too, if they hang with them for a half, you start building that your confidence shoots up a million, and you get to
yeah,
the third late. If Boise or Arizona State's hanging around end of the third quarter, I mean they're juiced.
yeah,
That's the thing. They're
exactly. Yeah,
just
it's
getting
one
out
of those
there.
things that, yeah, don't let them hang around. The old
Yeah,
cliche, but it's cliche for a
very
reason because you give
right.
these guys just a little bit of hope, and that's how
Yeah, that's how upsets
they
happen.
that's how they pull it out.
Right.
Of course, after that will be the Rose Bowl, kicking off with uh, number 8 Ohio State, number 1 Oregon. Of course, a rematch. Those two played a great game in Eugene earlier this year. Oregon pulled it out. Bad clock management by Ohio State toward the end of the game.
Uh,
There, maybe they would have won. Um, Certainly talented, and we mentioned it last week. But if that Ohio State team that showed up against Tennessee shows up
that's
the
a
rest of the way,
that's a
that's
team.
probably your national champion
Yeah,
right
that's a
there.
team right there. That's what they
Um,
paid for. I mean, that's the
yeah,
team that they
exactly.
paid for specifically. I mean, they could do nothing wrong against Tennessee, but as we know, their consistency. That's with all these teams. I mean, we've seen great moments from every playoff team. We've also seen reasons why they're not great from all of
Yeah.
them. Just because it's just a
hmm
different world in college football. There's no guarantees, and you know what I'm saying. Like the teams one week they'll look great. They come out the next week. You're like, who is this team? This isn't even the same team I
Yeah.
saw a week ago. As we saw,
It,
Ohio State losing to Michigan. Alabama losing to Oklahoma. Stuff that
mhm.
just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it's just amped up this year because it's something that always has been.
Right.
I think a lot of people tend to forget. We talk about wins and losses in college ball,
Hmm.
but routinely the national champ isn't unbeaten.
Right.
It's actually more on the rare. I mean, out of Nick Saban's 6 titles at Alabama,
And
only two
two.
were unbeaten teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those dominant teams, 2011
Hmm.
lost LSU, the
That's you.
2012 team, the
Well, I say
Johnny
him.
Football lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. that 2015 team
2015
lost
lost
that
Ole Miss.
that terrible, 5 turnover Ole Miss. The
Uh,
2017 team didn't even win the division, the
no,
SEC West. That
lost late November in the Iron Bowl.
yeah, in the
Had to
Iron Bowl
wait
and
for
got
Georgia to win the SEC to even get us back into the thing.
exactly yeah. Eh, so yeah, I think people tend to forget sometimes that these are college kids.
Yeah,
Is they're great athletes, great players, and yeah, now some of them are making money off it, but they're still college kids out there.
yeah.
They're going to be inconsistent. They're going to
From
be
18 to 21. We have I mean, you guys look
yeah,
think about yourself at 18 and 21. We were inconsistent going to class.
yeah.
Just
Oh man,
we were inconsistent with stuff that you know these guys. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing a lot of the stuff that they're doing. It's we
yeah, right.
don't.
Juggling all this,
Yeah,
all the other stuff, all
yeah,
the other great heavy pressures that come with just being in
yeah,
college, and then you're throwing all this football responsibility on top of it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. I mean,
I
I think a
remember
lot of
we
we
if it
most
were raining certain days, that would keep us from going to class because it meant we had to
absolutely,
walk.
absolutely.
Uh,
I don't. I don't. I think people. A lot of couch guys that don't have any perspective. We
mhm,
it's blah, 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 blah. People have no idea just how tough it is to do what these guys do, whether they're getting paid or not. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility that I don't think a lot of 18 to 21-year-olds had no idea just how how big of a thing it is at
mhm.
all. So
Yeah. So, yeah. So who knows what Ohio State team we see? And like we
yeah,
said, there's been no
I
elite
mean,
team this year. Oregon is the
right,
closest team we've had to it, but even
yeah,
then, you know, it's not like they've been just wrecking everybody.
right.
Uh,
I mean, I would expect I would be shocked if we have anything less than what we had the first go around.
oh yeah, for sure. Same here. I'd be shocked if either team blows the other out.
Yeah. And as
At
far as who wins
worst,
that game, I have no
oh
clue.
no,
I
no
mean,
clue. Yeah,
I always think it's so hard to beat the team twice, but then we've seen Georgia beat Texas twice, so who knows?
yeah, yeah. It is that thing, and it's yeah. This is definitely by far to me the of these quarterfinal games the one I have least idea on who's gonna.
Yeah.
Like we
Uh,
said, we don't know what Ohio State team showing up. If like we said, if last week's team shows up, I'm not sure there is a team in the country that can beat them.
yeah.
But if Oregon plays at its top level, I think at most, if this is a double digit win for either team, it'll be a
Something
late
late. Yeah.
score to put it away. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
They're up
late pick
three.
six,
Yeah.
or yeah, they're
They're up
up three
three
and they get
and
one more touchdown
yeah,
to
go 10. Yeah.
ice it. Yeah,
Other than
but
that, I'd be shocked if we have anything less than a classic in the Rose Bowl. Just because
yeah.
these teams are that good. Right.
But moving on to the nightcap on the first in the Sugar
Interesting.
Bowl. Yeah, the I think to me, as storyline wise, with even despite the Cinderella stories of Boise and Arizona State, and then the big time matchup we just talked about. I think Notre Dame and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl to me is the most interesting because Georgia's been the dominant team of the last few years.
Hmm.
Everybody trying to anoint them
The new
the new
dynasty.
dynasty.
Yep.
Kirby Smart's the new Nick Saban. This is the
Hmm.
new
It's a,
standard in college
yep.
football.
Exactly.
And then you have Notre Dame, the classical blue blood, but they haven't won a national title since
The 88.
1988.
Yeah.
They've been on the precipice, over the last uh, a decade plus. They've made BCS title games and got blown out. They've made
The playoffs
college football playoff and got
blown
blown
out.
out. It
Yeah.
seems every time they have a chance to win one of these games against an elite team, they just
Doesn't
can't
work.
do it.
Right.
And now they get a shot at a number two Georgia seed a team, a SEC champion, but without their starting quarterback Carson
Yeah.
Beck, who had surgery and declared for the draft, so his
Yeah. Kind
college
of
career is
shocked.
officially
Kind of
over.
shocked by that.
Oh yeah, I thought he would come back next year
Uh,
too. So
So that's
Uh,
interesting. But yeah, I
this
mean,
this is
it's
Notre Dame's shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think that this is one of the better Notre Dame teams you've seen.
Hmm.
Like for example, in 2012, they had a lot of fluke wins that season. To get to
Yeah.
play Alabama. And I don't know, but this team seems like their defense is stout. The running game is great. I mean, they seem like the real. This is the I guess the most complete Notre Dame team.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it before. They're playing as good of football as anybody is right now,
They
and
are.
they've been doing
Yeah,
it more consistently than anybody has.
exactly.
That's not a debate on who's
Uh,
been the if you just
look
ignore
at
who they've been playing,
yeah, and you just look at
ignore
the scores.
yeah, look at the scores, look at the stats, and just look at how they're playing. Notre Dame has been the
Yeah,
most consistent and the best team over the past month and some
yeah.
change of the season.
And then I
But
mean
now,
to put it in
go ahead.
perspective. I mean even I mean you have an Army and a Navy that have some of their best seasons of all time, and Notre Dame just housed both of them like it was nothing. Made them
Hmm.
look terrible. And at times, the past years, we've seen Notre Dame struggle with Army and Navy, and
Yeah,
worse when they've been good, and those other teams have not. So, I mean, and they housed them, no questions. It wasn't even in doubt. So, I mean, that just, yeah, they may not have the sexiest schedule, but I mean, they've done. You look at just scores, and they've dominated. So it'll be fun. I think I'm looking forward just to see if Notre Dame can. I think everybody. There's still a lot of people think, oh, Notre Dame's going to do what they've done against the SEC every other time. And I don't think that. I think this year is. If there's a year that they're going to do it, is this is their time. Um,
absolutely. Yeah, like I said, this is
this is their closest they've been, I think, on paper to such a team as a Georgia.
yeah for sure. And granted, this still is the most talented team Notre Dame will have played so far.
No, yeah,
And
absolutely.
the Georgia defense is going to be the toughest defense they played. And granted, it's not maybe up to the level as past Georgia defenses, but it's still a very good team, a
Very
very
good. I
good
mean, they're still a
defense.
great team.
Yeah. But there's a real shot with Carson Beck being out, and
Yeah,
an offense that was even with him was very inconsistent this year.
very consistent. And
Turnover prone, and that's Notre Dame's defense. They like their ball
yeah,
hawking. They get after it. They cause turnovers.
yeah.
Um, Marcus Freeman looking for that signature win. Really,
Oh,
still,
that would be you. That would just be huge for
yeah.
him.
Even if
Absolutely.
it doesn't lead, even if they lose next round to either Penn State or Boise State, that's this win over Georgia would
So
really kind
knocked
of,
off Georgia, that'd be huge
yeah, it's really Notre Dame's been looking for that win as a
for a long
program
time.
for a long time, yeah, to get back to that. They view themselves as one of the elite programs.
Yeah.
The media still views them as one of because of their name and
Hmm.
the history. But if you talk to recruits or to younger fans, Notre Dame's
Just a,
just another team.
yeah.
Uh,
Someone they
yeah, and
know, but I mean, it's not. Oh, wow.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
and not to take a shot at you or your team, but it's very similar like the Cowboys in that sense. It's
Mhm.
that yeah, they were a great team and still technically one of the best teams in the history of the
Yeah, I mean,
sport. But
always gonna have a national appeal and national attention, but yeah, what have you done?
yeah,
What have you
yeah,
done as of late?
it's time to put that result back in the win column there. So
Exactly.
I'm really looking forward to that. I think more than any other game for that reason, just the spectacle of it.
Yeah,
Um, so it should be
that's another
really
one I
interesting.
don't,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to expect from that one either.
Mm-mm.
I'm thinking Notre Dame plays them tough. Whether they win, I
Yeah.
don't know. Main thing with this one, I just don't want to. I mean, I'm no Notre Dame fan, but I mean, I really
No.
just don't want to see them get slaughtered out there again.
No, yeah, yeah, we want to see some good games now in this quarterfinal round.
No.
Mainly, I just want to see it so people shut up because I'm so tired of hearing. I mean, I won't do this rant again. We did it last week, but I'm so
Mhm.
tired of all these. Oh, the BCS, bring back the BCS and that type of shit. Just
Yeah,
everybody, just
yeah.
it's
We
in
got
that.
we. This is the best system we've ever had in place. Let's
Hmm.
just all we can do is have the games that we have for now. We have 2 years of this system, and then from there, they can improve upon it.
Exactly. Yeah, let them tweak it until we get it right. We've
Uh,
never had a really a true
but this
system that.
is the
To,
best system that's ever been in place, and it's just a matter of
yeah.
perfecting that system now.
And once again, if you're complaining about more meaningful college football games, you're weird.
Stop it.
And yeah,
Because we literally
it's
had one of the most epic regular seasons because people with two losses were still playing their asses off because they could get
mhm.
in.
Yeah, because the team. I mean, look at all year we talked about the Big 12 and how fun it was because we
Yeah.
knew, and those teams knew that they were playing for a chance to get in, and it was
And it
anybody's
literally
game.
came down to the
Yeah,
last game of the season.
literally. Yeah. So yeah, just enjoy football, folks. Just
Yeah.
quit complaining.
Let's enjoy
Log
it.
out of Twitter. It's okay. Put down the phone. Log out of Twitter and just watch a game and have fun. But yeah, so like we said, that'll be it. These quarterfinal matchups, of course, going beyond that, the winner of Georgia Notre Dame sees the winner of Penn State Boise State,
Mhm.
and some interesting matchups could arise from there. And then, of course, the winner of the Rose Bowl and the winner of the Peach Bowl uh, matchup. So I think you could really see some.
He
Do we
said,
get do we get some heavyweights? Do we get like a
upset.
Texas? Yeah, do we get like a Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia
Oh my gosh.
uh Final Four? Do we get,
That'd be
do
crazy.
Boise and Arizona State get in? Does
That'd be
Notre Dame
fun.
pull the upset? Does
Yeah.
Oregon keep winning? And as they shoot for their first national title, a program
Exactly.
that we talk about programs that have, looking for that one big win. Oregon's been there so close for so long now for
Yeah.
um
They're always right there. We'll find a way to
mhm.
choke it off or
I mean, starting way back, as when we were younger, that was it that 94, around 94, they made a Rose Bowl.
yeah, they made a Rose Bowl, play Penn
And
State.
yeah, I think Penn State whooped them. And then, kind of quiet for a little bit. And then, the Joey Harrington years and
Yeah.
really put the Oregon teams on the map and the
Yeah.
uniforms and all of that stuff. And then
Yeah,
they started
Mike.
getting
Yeah,
Heisman winners. And yeah.
yeah, Mike Bellotti
Hmm.
started to put him on the map,
Yeah.
and then Chip Kelly took it to another level.
Yeah.
Made the national title in 2010, made the national title again in 2014 in the first year in the playoff.
Hmm.
Came close against Cam and them, got blown out by Ohio State. But two title chances. And then now they're back. They're one of those teams that, but they're a different Oregon team now. I mean, that back then, all they're soft. They have
Hmm.
not they're not physical. Now they're physical as hell. They're one of the more physical teams in America.
They're physical, but they kept their signature, which is speed.
Yeah,
The thing about all of those Oregon teams going back from the Mike Bellotti, the Rich Brooks days,
yeah,
they were always fast,
fast.
and that has stayed the
That's,
same. Dan
yeah,
Lanning has kept that speed, but like you said, while adding toughness to a program that needed it. So
yeah. They
at the end
have
of the day, yeah, all four of these games look great. Just on
should be
paper,
fun.
look like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, for sure.
and even if you're
Uh,
looking just for big time games, I mean those prime time games. On I mean the later two later games on New Year's. I mean four football. I mean football legend schools. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's hard to pass up those names just on name
yeah,
alone. Yeah.
exactly.
Off the field, of course, transfer portal happenings have been going on. I think the
Wow,
big news this week, John Mateer transferring to Oklahoma
that's
from
huge.
Washington State. Yeah, he's following his offensive coordinator, who the Sooners
Mhm.
hired away from.
Then I saw that their defensive coordinator left to go to West Virginia.
Did he take the head coach? Or no, the
No,
defense coordinator job?
yeah,
Obviously, Rich Rod's got the head coach.
yeah. I'm just like, that's weird because I
And
didn't
then
think the
yeah,
defense was necessarily the problem there, but
and then this week, they they got South Dakota State's Jimmy Rogers to come
Mhm.
in as their new head coach there in Pullman. So some changes going around in Pullman, but a great get for Oklahoma there and
Oh
Brent
yeah,
Venables. Um, Certainly just a guy that can really sling the ball around. Of course, they lost Jackson Arnold to Auburn in the portal.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and speaking of Auburn, they got a big get this week themselves, and Eric Singleton Jr.,
They
receiver from
did.
Georgia Tech,
That's a huge.
considered.
That's a huge get.
Yeah, yeah, but and then I don't know if you saw this either, but so uh, what was it? William White, what is his name? One of the backup quarterbacks for Auburn.
Uh-huh.
He transferred to Baylor, I want to say,
Yeah, he did go to
and he
Baylor.
made an interesting statement on X, Twitter, or whatever he did.
I
He
saw
said,
that today.
yeah, he was excited, the usual
They
excited
have
to
an
get the
offense.
program, excited to meet my teammates, and I'm excited that there's a plan for quarterback development.
Yikes!
And that is a damning statement of the
Wow.
Hugh Freeze staff right there. And
Right. Wow.
so, well, you can't blame any Auburn fans or anybody around the program for getting excited with these portal pickups. Jackson Arnold, Singleton,
Mhm.
these receivers, add him to um, Cam, the other,
Mhm.
young receiver. There's some exciting talent there on the plains,
But obviously,
but
still some
yeah,
issues on the
still, yeah,
development side.
Hugh Freeze still needs to prove that he is worth the
What they're
price they
getting.
paid for him,
Yeah.
both monetarily and karmically. As we talk about often, that job probably, I think a lot of people thought that should have been Cadillac Williams, and
Yeah.
then the way he left the program after a year
Mhm.
under Hugh Freeze was still strange.
Yeah. Why not?
So
Yeah, but
that's just something to watch there, but a big pickup
but
for them. We'll focus on that part for them.
but the thing
Um,
too is we still don't know what Jackson Arnold is, and we don't know.
exactly, yeah. Is he still got that 5-star mentality, that
All
talent in
right.
him? Is he still that kind of quarterback, or is
Right.
he just not the quarterback scouts thought he was?
Right. Who knows?
Um,
We'll find out. But that's the key. He definitely still needs to get developed.
yeah, and so we'll see. Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting
Yeah, I saw that today.
statement.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah. Other interesting ones: Fernando Mendoza, Cal's quarterback. He'll be going to Indiana.
Yeah. His
So
brother's
Kirk
already on the
Signetti.
team.
Oh, is he? Yeah. That's a
It's
good pickup for
interesting.
them.
Yeah,
To
it
help
is.
replace Curtis O'Rourke.
Mm-hmm.
Jaheim Otis. Oates.
Colorado.
He was. Yeah. Alabama traded players. Of course, he announced earlier in the season that he was
Yeah,
entering
we knew that was going.
the portal. Of course, Alabama got their linebacker, a great get for them, and now they get a defensive tackle that helps them.
Yeah, we
Let's
didn't do
see.
a the thing with we didn't do a lot in the portal, but we definitely got needs. We got
We
that
do,
wide
and
receiver
there's
from Miami. We
yeah
got
the linebacker from Colorado,
yeah,
uh, and there's still open players there that I think they can still announce. I think this
there's
week
so
ends when you can enter the portal, but you can still announce your intentions to wherever you're
right.
going for a while now. There are a couple names out that I'm very interested in. I would love to see an Alabama uniform. Uh, One, Makai Hughes, Tulane's running back. He's still out there.
Yeah.
Um,
The wide
not
receiver from what's his name is still out there. I don't he hadn't made an announcement yet. I know Alabama was on his map. The guy from NC State, he's still out there.
Concepcion, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's still out there. He hadn't announced.
Actually,
Did he announce?
a little bit of break. Yeah. Texas A&M's getting them. Mm.
Really? Okay.
So that
I
is
did
a
not
good
know
get.
that.
Good get
That's
for
good.
them.
Yeah, that's a
But I'll tell you, a receiver who's out there who announced his exit that I would love to see in Crimson is Zachariah Branch, now a
oh,
former
absolutely.
USC.
Absolutely.
A guy that reminds me a lot of Jalen Waddle.
Hmm.
and that home run speed, that home run ability. Him and his brother, I believe, the safety Zion Branch,
Both
both
out there.
entered the
Yeah.
both entered the portal,
And I
and
don't even know if we're interested or not. I don't know.
and that's what I say. I have no idea what
Oh, but
I
that'd
don't know if
be,
there's something West Coast connection there that
yeah.
maybe Kalen DeBoer, if he knows, if he saw him firsthand. But this is Branch is a guy that immediately coming on the scene as a freshman last season,
Mhm.
just an absolutely great return. Couple of return touchdowns, over 700 yards in returns.
Just
Um,
a, just a
look at
dynamic dude.
mhm.
One of
He
those
is just
guys. Any any touch could be a touchdown type of guy.
hmm yeah, and he's one of those guys that you can just get it to him short
Yeah.
throws, screens, jet sweeps,
Yeah.
little slants, and like I said, reminds me a lot of Jalen Waddle on that.
Yeah.
Just hit him anywhere, get him the ball in space and let him do his thing. And he's a guy I feel like I'd love to see in
Oh,
the Kalen
absolutely.
DeBoer offense.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there's some other big guys out there. Takario Davis, cornerback from Arizona. He's a big name that's still out there looking for a home. Um, there was one more I had, and I've lost him on my list. I will probably think of it after as soon as we stop recording. But I know one interesting one, one going from Alabama. Justice Haynes still hasn't announced. I know Michigan. It looked to see like he was
Seemed like it was
gonna.
a lock, and then he hadn't signed yet.
Yeah, and he just hasn't quite announced it. But and it
So,
seems like that'd be a good place for him. A guy that just wants to tote the rock there.
yeah, I mean,
Couple of
that
line,
seemed like a great
interior
fit.
linemen out there.
Yeah.
Um, Colorado, we mentioned they got the quarterback decommitted. What he decommitted from USC and then
Mhm.
flipped over to them. They also got Liberty's quarterback,
Yeah,
Caden Salter, in the portal.
it should
So
be
that
interesting to see what they do going
yeah,
forward. Just with
hmm
keeping that interest alive there. I mean, of course, he had two
hmm
legendary guys in his son and Travis Hunter. Yeah, but what do they do to keep it going? And but that but they're in a good spot because I mean, obviously, the Big 12 is so up and down. They're you know
yeah, and nobody expected him to be in the conversation this
right,
year.
and they showed up.
And
I mean, they
yeah,
could have very well been a playoff team if they didn't mm, be, were a victim of everybody. Lost to Kansas. Kansas went on the heater and knocked off everybody real
yeah,
quick in November. Like
yeah.
they took out a lot of people. Yeah,
Played spoiler
BYU,
for a little bit.
Colorado. Yeah, but it'd be interesting just to see if he can continue to consistently be at that 10-2, 9-3 type season. Because honestly, I mean, not just for him, not just for themselves, but really, Colorado had been terrible before Prime got there. Absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, like
Their time
one
in
winning
the their,
season and
yeah, their time in the
one.
Pac-12 was absolutely horrendous. If you look year to year, it was horrible.
hmm
It was, I mean,
Yeah, it was not a
no,
fruitful move for them.
no, at all.
So
And they're a team that hasn't won a bowl game since '04. Like Jesus.
yeah, but
So
yeah, so
be
yeah, great
interesting to see if we
turnaround.
can keep
It's
them going
yeah, it's
because
really that. I think that's where the excitement is
uh,
watching how he goes now without Travis Hunter, without his son Shador,
yeah,
without Shiloh on the other end. How he
mhm,
really puts his stamp because as much as Jackson State and Colorado were, he was the coach, it's his program. They were really those two teams belong to Hunter and
Shadur.
Shador.
Yeah,
So yeah, and
be
this is
very
this
interesting.
is the part after you get the initial excitement. Now you really got to build it, and
Yeah,
so it's interesting to see where they go from there.
for sure.
Of course, like the transfer portal, there are also coaching changes going on. And of course, there were no huge job openings. We mentioned, of course, last week we talked about Bill Belichick,
Yeah,
but some interesting developments. Delaware State, Deshaun Jackson,
Yeah,
new head
that's
coach
a
for
yeah,
I think the Hornets, something they are. But yeah,
that's interesting.
he spent this past season as an assistant coach in high
Yeah.
school over in Long Beach. But it seems a lot
Not
of these
really a
guys might be
guy.
following
Not
this kind of Dion mold. Yeah.
yeah, not really a guy I would have ever thought would been just from his demeanor while playing. Never really a guy I would have thought, man, I could see him as a coach.
Hmm.
And he's the dude that
No.
fumbled at the 1 yard line.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So
invented the dropping the ball early
yeah,
bit. But
yeah.
also, in his time in the league, one of the most exciting
Oh my goodness, just
receivers and one of the fastest. You talk
oh
about
my
speed.
goodness,
Oh man.
just electric.
And then a guy who threw a couple touchdowns to him while they were together in Philadelphia, Michael Vick,
Hey Vic,
Norfolk State's new head coach.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
Kind of a
again,
homecoming for him. I mean, he's from that
yeah,
area.
a Virginia native, another guy with no um, head coaching experience. So
No,
it's just really interesting um, to see that, and if these guys maybe following in Dion's mold, and just if you can be a good CEO coach, if you can, be the motivator, the hype man,
because
get
obviously
guys in there.
you know
Yeah,
football because you made it to the
exactly. Yeah.
NFL. You
Mhm.
made it to the highest level as a player, so you know the game. It's
Yeah,
just
you
man,
have knowledge to pass down.
can
Yeah.
you take that? Can you take your knowledge and put these young people in the right, these young men in the right situations to win themselves?
Hmm.
Easier said than done, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting that. But you know, we seen Eddie George had a. I think they made the
They,
playoff
they
this
did.
year. So
They
I
did at
mean,
Tennessee Tech. Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Another interesting one for at least Alabama fans. Alabama A&M announced
I
their new
saw
head
that.
coach,
Saw that
Sam
too.
Shade, yeah, a
Right.
member of the '92 national title team
Yeah.
under Gene Stallings, a very good safety back there.
Absolutely.
Um, so best of luck to him there at A&M up there in Huntsville. Um,
Yeah. So, but
But
yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
and then I don't know, did we talk about that? I cannot remember for the life of me. Did we talk about this last week? But Mike Shula, speaking of former
Offensive
names and
coordinator.
coaches, yeah, now officially offensive coordinator at South Carolina. He
Yeah.
spent this year there as an analyst, I believe, some type of
Mhm.
assistant. He is now their OC. And he's always been a solid OC. He
Yeah. I mean,
was
saw
the
he did with
OC for
Cam.
exactly. He was the OC for the Panthers, and
Yeah.
Cam Newton won an MVP and went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He spent a few seasons up there in Buffalo, helping
Yeah.
develop Josh Allen. Even so far as back in the day, before he was even Alabama's coach, he was offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers when they had those great runs with Sean King,
Yeah.
and getting close to the Super Bowl in those days. So interesting. Mike Shula back in the SEC in a prominent position.
Right. Yeah.
Again, he's a guy I've always been surprised never took another head coaching job at like a smaller school. I always thought it'd have been interesting if he went to like a FAU,
Just to see what
FIU.
he would do. Yeah.
Yeah, just to see how he would do. I was he obviously had his problems as coach. Might have been a little too loyal to certain guys, and
But he
uh,
also was put in a tough situation, with
yeah,
all
he was
the
put in the toughest situation any coach at Alabama has ever been asked to come into, and he handled it admirably.
yeah, he did.
Um, so, and that's the most you can ask of him. And even to this day, I'll still maintain that he probably didn't deserve to get fired because of, yeah, there was a fall off from that 2005 season into the 2006 season. But
But
if
there's
you,
so many people that were it was a big change.
it
Having
was, and
people that
coming
left.
off probation, and yeah, lost a lot. Had what like a sophomore John Parker Wilson as his
Yeah.
quarterback. Um,
Yeah.
and I think I remember looking it up at the time, and I've always tried to remember this, but that last season, I believe over half of his roster was comprised of freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah.
So
Very
it's tough.
unseen.
Now, granted, obviously the results worked out for us, and
Yeah. I mean it
yeah,
worked out well. One thing that you forget because we just weren't good in that '07, that '06 season.
mm,
DJ Hall put up crazy numbers that year.
he did. Yeah, he. I think still has a couple Alabama receiving
Yeah,
records, or at least had them before. That great
I
quartet of
had
receivers.
I for kind of forgot just how dynamic he was at
And DJ was dependable, man. He was a guy that
yeah.
you could always throw it up to. Had made the plays, great hands, a good route runner.
Mhm. I think
Maybe some.
that was one of the, I guess, biggest disappointments for me in that '05 season when after TP went down, just
Mhm,
how the, the offense went so flat. And I was like, dude, we have talent. We had DJ Hall, we had Keith Brown, like we had the
mhm.
talent. Like,
I think a lot of that season problems. I think everybody focuses on Tyrone Prothro going down, and with good reason. I do remember this stat. At that time, Tyrone Prothro was averaging over 17 yards every time he touched the ball that
like,
season, whether it was receiving, rushing, returning.
mm,
Over 17 yards a touch at the time of his injury. That is an insane number,
dynamic.
folks.
Yeah,
That every time you touch the ball, you average 17 yards.
yeah,
That five touches at that average, and you're down the field.
yeah. But yeah,
But
I mean, but I just
I,
thought, those guys were dynamic enough that I thought our
I
offense should have been a little bit
I
better
think I
than.
think what a lot of people forget, and I do it all the time too, is I think remember in the Tennessee game we lost. It was one of the Britt brothers, maybe.
Yeah.
I can never remember it was one of the Britt boys or one of the Smileys. We had those sets of brothers playing offensive line
Hmm.
for us, but when he went down, we had a couple injuries on that offensive line, and I think that's really what tanked that season.
Okay.
And we saw the culmination of it over in Auburn in the Iron Bowl. The
Ooh,
honk if you sack Brody
Zach
game.
Burton.
What was there
Yikes.
11 sacks in that game, something
Yeah,
like that.
10 or 11. Yeah,
It
I
was
want to
terrible.
forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's one thing. Yeah, a lot of it would have been interesting to see. Yeah, if our line, if Prothrow, if Alabama could have stayed healthy that year. Because we still, the Auburn loss was bad, but it took overtime for LSU to beat us in a just unreal Jamarcus Russell pass back when he was still good.
To Dwayne
Um,
Bowe.
to Dwayne Bowe in an absolute laser. It was on. I remember. I still see that
Yeah.
play. Absolute laser of a ball. There was a great still shot. From somebody called a freeze frame. I want to say it was Charlie Pepper. Maybe that actually had his hand on the ball.
Yeah.
It was just thrown so hard that
Hmm.
it didn't
And
change
just
the
popped
trajectory
over.
at all.
And he just
Yeah.
popped over the middle right there. Boom.
Yeah. Any other quarterback maybe at that time throws that ball and Charlie Pepper gets a deflection
Yeah.
and Alabama wins the game. But
Absolutely. And he had a rocket for an arm.
mhm.
Um,
but
and that's what that game. Like a lot of people say, oh, their saddest game was the kick six or the comeback game or other games. To me, that was one of the most. I think that is the most down I've ever been after an Alabama game,
mm,
just because we have been through so much. Our
mhm.
freshman and sophomore years, and well,
Yeah.
sophomore, especially not so much freshman year is legit, but sophomore, junior year,
Yeah.
and then they had that '05 season, and going into that game undefeated, and game day was
Mhm.
there, and I don't know that loss still hurts me to this day. Yeah, more than any other, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple. We like we said, we saw some rough ones at
Yeah.
so next week when we do our Alabama season in review,
Hmm.
um just remember, Alabama fans, as bad as you think it is post Saban,
It's been it's
mm,
been much worse.
you weren't there for
Oh
fourth and
man.
19 in the middle of a 5 overtime loss. You weren't there for
Oh my.
that Jamarcus Russell
Oh,
after for
that
that
fourth
damn
and 19, that was
that
rough.
uh,
Or
the
getting
fake.
demolished by a bad South Carolina team.
Oh, yeah, getting demolished by a bad South Carolina team, losing at home to NIU, uh,
Yeah.
losing to Hawaii, which again
Mm.
wasn't so bad back in those June Jones
But
days, but
still,
still,
it was bad.
um, losing Arkansas. What's his face? That big
Oh
quarterback they
my.
had, Matt Smith. Is that his
Matt
name?
Jones.
Mac Jones. That's it. Just running all over, stiff arming Roman Harper to
Oh wow.
next century.
Yeah.
That LSU game, the all the Auburn losses.
Yeah.
I mean. all of them bad, particularly freshman year. When we were clearly a better team, and then
Oh,
Trey Smith's little third
Trey,
string
out of all
ass
the
ran on.
running back, it
Right,
wasn't Cam, it wasn't Ronnie, it was Trey Smith. What the
right.
hell?
Crazy, but yeah, we'll talk more about that stuff
Yeah,
next week.
yeah,
But yeah, so yeah, that's where we are. Some exciting college football games coming up this
absolutely.
week. A few more players out there in the portal. All the
Yeah, the
coaching
other
changes
thing,
should be done, barring anything.
the other thing that was very surprising is
Mm.
where the hell did Duke get their NIL money from? Because that Tulane quarterback, he got a shitload of money, and I was
Hmm.
impressed by that. I was like,
I guess
wow,
I guess
football.
a school as good as Duke has
Yeah,
put
I
some
mean, I expected on
successful
the
people out
court.
into the world. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I
exactly.
expected
Yeah,
on the court, but damn, that foot
hey,
they, I was impressed. They put that
hey,
much effort into their NIL for football.
Manny Diaz doing some good
Yeah,
talking there, I guess.
yes,
But
obviously.
yeah, let's move to the pro game real quick here. An important week in the NFL, if
Was
not, not necessarily a super exciting one, but in a very important week. As most of the playoff spots are now wrapped up. Christmas Day, of course, NFL stepped on the NBA's turf. And not really exciting games, pretty dominant games on both sides. The Chiefs
I
beat the
mean,
Steelers.
games that look good on paper,
Yeah,
they
no, for
look
sure.
great.
Yeah. Four playoff teams, four teams that there will all be in the AFC
Yeah.
playoffs. But early in the day, the Chiefs beat the Steelers and wrapped up the one seed,
Hmm.
handed the Steelers their third straight loss, which opened up the
Hmm.
door for the Ravens. And they took care of business in the second
Yeah,
game
they
and just
did.
beat the
Beat
hell
the
out of
hell out of it.
Texans
Yeah.
31-2.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
think the
and odd,
most talked about thing in that game was the Beyonce halftime.
yeah, for sure, yeah. The Beyonce halftime and the fact that as much as Derrick Henry ran all over them, he actually got tackled behind the line for a safety.
Yeah, yeah, it
But yeah,
was.
no.
Yeah,
So
but
that
yeah, that was a dominant performance, both ways.
mm,
Because I mean, the Chiefs aren't exactly a team that bone out anybody this year, and for them to
no,
get a big
yeah,
win like that, you're like, whoa.
and yeah, that'll probably give them leeway to rest some starters next
Yeah,
week.
most
Um,
definitely.
and then the Ravens, like I said, they now take control of the AFC North, and they just need a win or a Steelers loss next week to clinch a division in the first round home game. The
Huge. Yeah.
Ravens host the Browns, so a little bit of revenge there for them, and then the Steelers host the Bengals, a team they did beat earlier in the year, but a team that won today
And they did. That
or
was
yesterday.
yesterday. Yeah, huge,
Yesterday, yeah.
huge win for the Bengals. As
Yeah,
they
beat the
somehow
Broncos. Yeah.
stay somehow still alive.
Yeah, they are now 8-8 on the year. They'll need some help. They'll need to win, and they will need Denver to lose, which unfortunately for them, Denver's playing KC, and like we said, KC will probably rest a bunch of guys. So,
Who knows?
um, yeah, but other notable things: Saquon Barkley, top 2,000 yards rushing.
Yeah,
Um, Good on him as the Eagles get another win
demolished.
for themselves.
Yeah, they demolished
Um,
us.
yeah. Um, as far as let's see what else happened. The Rams locked up their playoff spot with tonight's exciting game. Actually, the Washington and
Yeah,
Atlanta played an exciting Sunday night football game, and the Commanders' win means that Seattle is now out of the playoffs. The Rams lock up the NFC West. Um, let's
that's a
just
team
run
that's
through this here,
come a long way this year.
hmm
They start off
and
bad.
as of right now, technically Minnesota is the one seed in NFC, but that's because Detroit has not played this week yet. They
They play
tomorrow
49ers
night.
tomorrow.
Yeah, Monday Night Football, 49ers. So a win for the Lions would get them back in that one seed
Mhm.
spot in the AFC. In the AFC, as we mentioned, everything's just about locked up. KC is your number one seed. Buffalo will be your number two seed. Houston will be your number four seed. We know all that already.
Mhm.
As we mentioned, Baltimore just needs a win or a Pittsburgh loss to wrap up the North and the three seed.
Yeah,
Steelers are in the playoffs either way. The Chargers are in the playoffs as they've locked up a wild card berth. And then there's just one more spot left in the NFC, which Denver just needs that one win.
but
And then there's Miami and Cincinnati chasing them. They both need
a
some
win and
help. I think Cincinnati would need losses by both of them. I think right now Miami
Oh,
would have the tiebreaker over Cincinnati, but I'm not sure how a three-way tie works with all of them. So um, they'll both be rooting for the Chiefs' second
interesting.
string to beat Denver. But
All right.
over in
Interesting.
the NFC, as we mentioned, the Detroit and Minnesota are both in the playoffs. It's just a matter of who wins that division. Philly is right there behind them, looking for that, hoping for something to get them into the one
All right.
seed. The Rams, I think, surprisingly to a lot of people, they'll be your three
Yeah.
seed. Um, but just another great coaching job by Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. You know, once he got healthy and his weapons got healthy,
Yeah,
that offense started clicking. Yeah,
I did.
the late loss for the Falcons means the Bucks are back in as the
Huh.
NFC South representative as of now. They do need to win next week to clinch that. If they finish tied on record with the Falcons get in because they have swept that season series. The
Right.
Commanders win tonight, locks them a playoff spot
Yeah.
in, and the Packers are your other wild card team. So it's just about seeding in the NFC
Right.
and then deciding
One
who's that
spot.
South champ.
One
Yeah.
spot. One
hmm
spot there in the
Yeah.
AFC. But yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, big. I mean, big seasons. I mean, considering
Mhm.
no one expected the Vikings to do much of anything this year, honestly,
No,
and the
absolutely.
fact that
Yeah.
they're right. I mean, had an epic season. I mean, Sam Darnold was finally put in a decent situation, and he's really shown, hey, I'm not a bad quarterback.
hmm Um.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the Commanders, new management, new coaching staff, new everything, and you know, Jaden Daniels. I mean, he pretty much locked up Rookie of the Year for sure. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
um, I mean, the whole season has been dynamic. Kind of ran into a wall a little bit in the middle, but finished strong. So I mean, kudos to the Commanders. I mean, 11 wins after what they've been for the longest. I mean, that's epic. I mean, I can't stand them, but still epic, epic, epic by them. I mean, there's some good stories there in the NFC as far as teams that really came out of nowhere.
No. Yeah. Yeah. The Jaden Daniels. Maybe a lot of Bears fans now wishing that maybe they had selected him. Um.
It's hard. It's hard to say. I mean, this situations
Yeah.
we just don't know
Yeah.
about. I mean, we don't know. I mean, we you can say a lot of different things, but we don't know. How that. Maybe Caleb Williams does the same thing there. It's just a matter of
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
who knows.
You never
I
know,
guess
but
the big thing. I'm sure Commander fans are hoping is they've seen a epic a rookie year before with RG3, so the
yeah.
hope please let this be a consistent thing and not a one
Yeah.
one year.
Yeah.
So
If he gets an injury, please rest him and allow
mhm.
it to heal. Do not RG3 that man. Some other interesting results today. The Giants ended their 8-game losing streak, but the win knocked over the Colts. It knocked the Colts out of the playoffs. But it also means that New York does not have the
Just
number
not
one.
get the
Yeah,
well,
does not have the number one pick as of right now.
oh, I saw that's the most Giants thing ever right now.
Right. It trying to figure out now who would be.
I think it's the is it the
Yeah, I've lost. I just had it up and it disappeared on me here. But yeah, so good for them. Happy for them that they get it. But now all of a sudden, now you lose your grip. So, as terms of worst records, the Patriots, Titans, Browns, and Giants all at 3 wins. So, not sure who. I don't know if that means the Patriots now are your. I don't know how they decide that, but interesting. Those are your teams in contention for
who is the worst 3 and
the
13 team?
yeah. So who's the Shador Sanders sweepstakes is, maybe he's going to be the first,
Oh,
uh,
I
well,
feel bad for whatever quarterback.
hmm
I feel bad for any of these first round quarterbacks, honestly.
yeah, and it's so weird because
because I mean it's a reason why certain teams are continuously drafting at the
Hmm.
top of the draft. Like,
Yeah, and it's weird. Like with something like the Giants, they're such a weird franchise because they have periods where they're just inept, and then they have Super Bowl wins,
yeah.
and
Then
you
they
know,
go
y-
back to being bad again.
yeah, and you got a guy like Brian Dayball. Great first year as a coach there, got him to the
Got them to
playoffs, right,
playoff.
or at
Yeah,
least
got
a
to
winning
win. Even
season.
got to win. They
Yeah,
won the first.
and
They beat the Vikings.
yeah, a guy we'll root for. Was a national title winning
Yeah,
offense coordinator in Tuscaloosa, but they obviously need a quarterback. The Patriots seem to have their quarterback of the future. I think their fans are pretty excited with Drake May's potential
yeah.
there. Even maybe
Definitely see
not,
it.
maybe not happy with their coach. I think there was some fire Mayo chants at the game this week, but the Titans talk about a mess of a franchise right there.
Jeez.
And then the Browns, of course, they are the Browns. So yeah, it'd just be interesting to see.
I saw they got Watson to restructure some of his contract or something.
Yeah, I think basically it gave them a couple void years or something. Not sure what that means. Like if that means that they'll move on from him or if they'll give it another try
Still,
next year.
still the most ridiculous contract ever put in place.
Yeah, just absolutely ridiculous. Um, but yeah. Um, one more thing before we go. So now we're in this season. It seems like your top three guys for the MVP right now: Lamar, Josh Allen, and Saquon Barkley. If you had a
Yeah.
vote, who would you give it to?
Right now, I would say Josh.
Hmm.
I mean, he's done a lot, and there's not a lot of talent around him there. I mean, there's some okay
Mm-hmm.
guys, but I mean, it's not. Yeah, he doesn't have a star around him right now. I
Mm-hmm.
would say, I would give it to Josh. I mean, just because I mean he's put that team on his back many times. If he's
Mm-hmm.
not there, this team is not good.
Yeah. Um, as much as I
Now,
hate
I mean,
to, that
well,
might be where my vote would go to.
you can definitely say Lamar
Hmm.
is there, but I mean, but then he also had Derrick Henry, which has helped out a lot.
Yeah, and I think that probably hurts his case a little bit.
Yeah,
The argument for Lamar is that he's actually having a better season than he did last year when he was
right.
the MVP. Um, Statistically speaking, uh, he's cakewalking Josh Allen in all the
Hmm.
statistical quarterback categories. He's
Yeah,
far and away better statistically.
right.
But Josh Allen's team is, has, and Lamar even won the head to head matchup. But
Yeah,
the Bills are a couple wins better than the Ravens as a team. And then, voters seem to not um want to
Re-
vote the same guy,
yeah,
unless it's
repeat.
someone like Pat Mahomes or someone, generational like that.
Yeah, they
But
seem to have
I don't have, I wouldn't have a problem with
either one.
Josh Allen winning. Yeah, I know a lot of Ravens fans are, would be pissy about it, but I agree with you. It's important to define the word too, most valuable player. Um, because like you
And
said, obviously, if you take either one of these guys off the team and
yeah, of
give them
course.
an
Mhm.
average replacement, then they're not going to be the same teams.
Right, but Lamar
But
has more talent around him right now. He has Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry.
exactly, and
He got some
with
decent tight ends. And right now, I mean,
mhm.
the Bills, they're kind of looking for a number one guy. They don't
Yeah,
have that.
yeah, they made the trade for Amari Cooper, and he's been kind of banged up on and
Yeah,
off since he got there. So, and some injuries on their defensive side too. But
yeah,
Josh Allen keeps pulling them through games. So yeah, I
right.
think either one of those.
Can't go.
Saquon's had a great season. Obviously, 2,000 yards in the NFL is no
It's
joke.
just, but I
But
don't know. It's
if
just such a quarterback centric league that I would be shocked if they don't give a
yeah,
quarterback the.
well, yeah, for two reasons. One, if this were a most outstanding player award, then yeah, maybe my vote might go to Saquon for the year
Yeah,
he's having,
I
and
mean, he
he'll
can get the offensive player of the year. Sure,
yeah,
give
he'll
him that.
probably get that for sure, and probably deserves it. But
Oh, absolutely.
if we talk about what we just talked about, Lamar and Josh, or if you take Saquon off the Eagles team, give them an
They
average
probably
replacement.
still win they're probably still the NFC East champs.
Yeah, yeah, they
Honestly.
might still have the same record. Granted, he has definitely added a different level of,
Oh,
uh,
greatness. Yeah,
yeah, a
absolutely.
dynamic playmaking ability to that
Yeah.
team. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he's made them where they're a Super Bowl contender. I should say that.
Exactly. Yeah,
Without
he
him
adds.
there, they're not that. With him, you never know. I mean, they're on that level that they can beat anybody with that. With him, if he's having a great day. Yeah, but yeah, they're definitely. But yeah, Philly still has a lot of talent, and we've seen them. When they made they've had okay backs. Still went to the Super Bowl with nothing spectacular.
Hmm.
So yeah. But
No,
yeah, I
yeah,
think that hurts them a little bit just because I think Philly would almost have that same record or be pretty close.
yeah. Um, but no, great season for him
Oh,
nonetheless.
absolutely. 2,000 yards is not in NFL is especially for a supposedly dead position.
Yeah, right. Um,
and he's 109 from breaking the all time record, Eric
is he
Dickerson's
that
record.
close? Interesting. I
Yeah,
wonder if he'll get. Um,
they'll let him go
yeah,
get that
interesting to
time.
see how much he'll play next week because like
Yeah.
they still have a shot at the one seed, but they definitely
Yeah,
probably I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those games where maybe they play their starters for a half and then
yeah,
start to rest some people and
exactly.
um, depending on what else goes around.
Yeah, because I would say Jalen doesn't have to play again at all next week.
No,
Again,
yeah, and he
yeah.
yeah,
He
you
didn't play.
probably let
He
him
was out
rest.
there. Yeah, get him ready for the playoff.
Yeah, get
Um,
everybody healthy. It's your key thing right now. If you're a contending team, you want
want
everybody nice and
everybody as
healthy.
healthy as possible. I mean, there's no
Um,
100% health in January in the NFL, but want to get them
oh, and it
as
looks
healthy as
like
possible.
looks like the NFL's announced a schedule for next week too, as we've been since we started
Yeah.
recording. Saturday's games will be the AFC North games: Cleveland, Baltimore, Cincy at Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sunday, of course, you have all these games. Your Sunday night game next week: Minnesota at Detroit. Winner take all for that division.
Oh man, that's great.
The
Jeez.
Eagles host the Giants earlier in the day, so yeah, that's definitely a game where they can maybe put it away early and rest some
That'd
guys.
be
And
something Saquon to break the record against his old team.
that's true. Yeah, there might be something.
He
He might
might
have a
be.
little personal axe to grind
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
Let's
Giant
see.
fans still
So,
got to be sick as hell with that.
hmm
Oh man,
uh,
they chose the
uh,
guy that's not even on the team anymore.
mm, right.
Oh,
And then Seattle had to be real mad at this Atlanta loss in that because they actually play at the Rams next week too, so they could have had a winner take all um, game themselves,
yes,
but
they could have. Yeah, that's tough for them because
yeah,
they
no
had the
longer the case.
ugliest win of all time on
Oh,
Thursday. The
I didn't
six
even
to
I didn't even
three.
know that that game was going on, and then like a score popped up, some
Yeah,
notification, and I was like, "Wait, there's a game," and checked it out.
yeah.
I was like, "Oh man, that's oof.
6 to 3, and no scoring in the whole second half by either team.
Yeah, that's a ugly, ugly game." But let's see. Anything else in the world of sports you want to touch on this week? I know Alabama got a good win today,
Good win. Yeah.
and basketball.
Holloway, he had a hit. I think he was like 8 of 19 from three today, dropped 29. So that was good
Yeah,
to see.
he said he had a funny quote I saw after the game. He's like, man, it's weird. Coach Oates gets mad at me if I don't shoot. Uh,
Right. Something different, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, we're in a good spot. The SEC is definitely tops of the college basketball world. Interesting enough. So man, it's gonna be a every you gotta bring your A game because every team is decent in the SEC this year. I
Hmm.
think the worst record team is South Carolina right now, and they only have like 3 losses. So
Yeah. So conference play right around the corner now.
yeah,
So in the NBA, a little trade today. The Lakers sent D'Angelo Russell to the Nets, and they get Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton back in return. Probably a good trade for them, for the Lakers. Um, other than that, too much going on in the
Uh,
NBA right now. Dennis Schroeder went to the Warriors in a trade. Was it earlier this week? Last
yeah,
week?
I think the first part of
Um,
this week.
yeah. So yeah, it's that time. We kind of like I said, it's the end of football season, and then once
Yeah,
we get around that All Star breaks
the
when
All-Star
NBA
game,
really,
man,
yeah,
takes it
really
takes off.
ramps up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, Last week, of course, we also a couple things I forgot to mention. One, I was going to talk about some FCS playoffs. Um, they had a couple good games too, but they don't play their title game until next Monday. But then a couple sad passings in the sports world. We lost Ricky Henderson last week.
yeah, that's tough.
Was one of the all-time greats in baseball, one of the all-time great characters in all of sports too.
Yeah,
And then was it earlier today or late last night? Greg Gumbel,
yeah,
longtime announcer, commentator, kind of the voice of March Madness for so long.
he was. Yeah,
Um,
sad.
he lost his battle with cancer.
Mm,
And then today, semi-sports related, not really, but former U.S. President Jimmy Carter passed at 100.
yeah,
Maybe the last truly actually good person. That's not true. Obama was, all accounts, a good
yeah,
guy
decent
as
guy.
a president, but
But
Jimmy Carter
Jimmy
was a real
Carter
one.
just yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just for a person associated with Washington D.C. in any way, probably the
Mm-hmm.
most regular type of dude you could ever have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just seems like such a great guy. You don't hear any. Even I've never heard any negative.
Mm-hmm.
No one could really say anything negative. You don't hear any bad stories about him, anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. I mean, he just seems like a great guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, obviously the Carter Center and then all his work with Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
Um, and, my wife and her family talk about a lot, but uh, Jimmy Carter is what all Southern Baptists should aspire to be.
Oh,
That is,
absolutely,
you truly want to see a guy that really uh,
absolutely.
actually lives his
Lives
life in the
life.
way that you're supposed to. That's a
Yep,
guy.
that's
Um,
and if we could be half, if people could be half of what Jimmy Carter is, then
mhm.
we'd be in a much better spot.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But yeah, so just a couple, sad passings, few
Yeah,
this week. Um, but yeah, yeah, that'll do it for us this week. Next week we'll come back and we'll have some playoff results for you. We'll know who be in the final seedings and everything for the NFL playoffs.
yeah.
Um,
Final
and who
review of
knows?
Bama season.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
review, Kalen DeBoer's first year in Tuscaloosa, and whatever other shenanigans going this week. As far as done up real good, I'll probably say again this week, and we'll probably both say the same. Just a nice Christmas week, and
oh yeah. Always
the New Year. Yeah, always a fun time with football coming up in the New
yeah,
Year. That never changes.
absolutely.
So thanks again, folks, for listening to us. Be sure to subscribe and give us good ratings or likes wherever you listen to your podcasts. Check out all the podcasts on the Alabama Take family of podcasts. Blaine and them are always doing their thing on taking it down. And I see the boys over at We Are Star War have pumped out a few
Yeah, I saw
episodes
that.
lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been kicking them out. Of course, check out the alabamatake.com for writings and stuff. Um, we will be doing, I guess, we'll put up another picks column probably, I guess,
Playoff.
Tuesday before
Yeah.
the quarterfinal games kick off. There's always the challenge coverage that Blaine and I go over. I'm not sure if they'll have an episode this week with the holiday again. They didn't have one last week. So we'll see that. But yeah, you can check out the alabamatech.com for all kinds of writings. Find all the podcasts there as always. Follow us on all the social medias as well. Keep it done up real good yourselves out there, folks. Greg, buddy, I'll see you next time. Happy New Year, man.
See you next year.
Yeah.